Good morning, folks. Happy Boxing Day. I've been thinking so much about these two words that just jumped into my head and just never left. For the past 2 weeks now, I've been thinking about these two words, and I started wondering if maybe I should do a little bit of research and try and share what I find. And hence, I'm here. I've often heard people use the word interchangeably, I think, for spirituality and religiosity. And then I started thinking about this and I decided to raise questions to help me undertake this research. So the questions that jump out to me would be, what do they mean? First of all, I have to understand what spirituality means and what religiosity means. And then how do they even are they different from each other, and if they are, how do they differ? What is the difference, and do they have any conflict? Is there any conflicting meaning between the two? Is it possible that I'm using this religiosity and I mean spirituality and vice versa? And then the other question would be, are there any gray areas between the two usage? So could I be using one thing and and there are overlapping meanings or substance in the two meanings? So these are the things that we are going to be trying to examine as we go further. So I'd like to define spirituality as a personal and unguided venture in search of relevance between intangible powers and its influence on kindnesses. So the two powerful words here that jump out. The first one is personal, and the other one is unguided. So which means if it's personal, then it means you can do it on your own. If it's unguided, it means all bets are off. But I just want us to go through definitions first for spirituality and religiosity, and then we will define the kindnesses, and maybe it will tie things together. So, on the other hand, religiosity is a group or guided venture in search of relevance between intangible powers and its influence on kindnesses. So, which means religiosity is a direct opposite of spirituality. So, spirituality is personal and unguided, while religiosity is group and guided. So there are stark differences here. So it's going to help us. But then let's define what kinesis is. Kinesis is a movement, often a response to external exertion. So something makes you do something, sometimes not willingly. So every time you do something that you did not that you, in response to some kind of exertion, some force from outside, whether it's a huge force, a massive force, or a little force, but you're responding to something outside, that's kinesis. What is the relationship between religiosity and spirituality? I will define the relationship between these two with a Venn diagram. So a black circle and a white circle. The black circle, which is spirituality, and the white circle, which is religiosity. Bring them together, and then there's a subsector inside the two circles after you have joined them together. That is the gray area. That is where we are going to be looking at subsequently in this discourse. The growing allusion to either spirituality or religiosity is because people are beginning to critique and reevaluate their belief systems, which are either taught or experienced. I just say that the relationship between humans and the environment is at the core of this discussion. People ultimately wish for something to happen, and they direct it towards some being with an overwhelming degree of intelligence and influence over mundane things. I dare say it takes more effort to be atheist, that is, not to believe in God. Atheism is factually reactionary compared to theism, which is naturally occurring. We all can agree to the fact that people gravitate towards forces that are more potent than technology and willpower. And the reason is because you find yourself sometimes as a human in very unforeseen circumstances, in circumstances that you're powerless, you cannot help. And then the natural thing to do is to start praying. What do you pray to? Well, we'll find out. Humans can create ideal situations to degrees of perfection. The reason is because it would create the infrastructure and install necessary controls to determine outcome with high predictability. What does that mean? Civilization. Civilization allows man to be able to predict. And I'm not talking about using tools of prediction here. I'm talking about putting certain things in place, putting certain controls in place in governance or even at home. That way you can predict it. For instance, we have power, right? I don't have to worry about power because the level of civilization in this environment guarantees that there will be power every time I need it. There's energy to cook, there's energy to freeze, to preserve things, there's energy to run my machines, washing machines, and other things. That is predictability. So civilization gives you that. And this explains why societies with less technology and poor predictability are more susceptible to prayers. Yes, if you go to the rural areas or even to the developing nations where they don't have much technology, yes, there's a lot of prayer going on down there. And it is difficult to find anyone, by my personal experience. If you go to underdeveloped or developing countries or developing environments or where there is not much civilization or infrastructure, I can bet you that everybody prays something. Because humans are weakest generally in predicting outcomes. Then they pray. Then what's the conflict? There are unresolved issues with the mode, the manuals with which humans explore deities. I will refer the mode to be or your order of worship. And the manual will be, the book. It could be the Bible or the Quran or whichever text that you use that guides you in the way you worship. So our concern for this discourse is the mode. We want to look at the mode. Is it spirituality? Is it religion? And if it's any of those, what are the order? What is the, what I mean order? I mean ORDER. Is the Christian order or the Muslim order or the Hindu order or the traditional Taoism or whatever. What is the order that you worship? So I categorize them into three. The first one is the Orthodoxy. Second one is Muslim, and the third is traditional. So Orthodoxy would encompass all the Judeo-Christian engagements there. Those belong to the Orthodoxy. Then the second one will be the Muslims. There are variations in the Muslim faith, and then I categorize them into Muslim. And the third one is traditional. Traditional meaning that these practices are regionalized. So in Africa, they have the traditional worship system. In the Middle East, they have before the advent of Islam. In the Southeast Asia, they have their own thing going on. They have the Hinduism, they have Sikh, they have the other ones in China, the Taoism and all that. In the olden days, even now as I speak, in South America, you have other forms of traditional religion going on down there. So I put them all together in a class, which is the traditional worship system. The common denominator is the supreme being. I mean, in all this worship, there's a theme. The theme is everyone wants to get to the supreme being. Everyone wants to be able to get a piece of him. We want to be able to talk to him. You want to be able to get him to listen to you. You want to be able to get him to address something that is important to your life. Then hence their mode of worship. Some people think you can find him through Christianity, and the Christians think it's exclusive. Others think it's through Allah, and every other way is not right. Traditional worship, they have experienced certain definitions and certain divine experiences that they've had, and they passed it down to the progeny. So that is basically what organized religion does for you. But the common denominator in all this is basically being able to reach the Supreme Being. I have spoken to, in my experience, quite a bit of people practicing some of these religions, and everyone has told me that there is an agreement that although this is not a kind of eschatologist class, but it is believed that there are native deities that govern thunder, that govern things like thunder, planting, harvesting, and fertility, justice, and war, etc. So religious acquaintances can confirm that there are different deities governing various aspects of life. Then what is the gray area? I have color-coded black for spirituality. In that Venn diagram that I mentioned, I have color-coded black for spirituality and white for religiosity. Black for spirituality because it is often an unknown venture, approached with openness and vulnerability. White for religiosity because it is known to observe set boundaries and expectations. Gray area. Well, going back to the description I gave initially with the Venn diagram. So I made a deliberate effort to color code spirituality black, and I color coded religiosity white. There's a reason. Black for spirituality because drawing inspiration from the tech world, there's something called black box testing. Black box testing is a test that you do where you have no information, you have no clue going into it, which means as a spiritual person, you can decide that, okay, I want to know this thing. People have made prayers like, if there's God, do this, do that, and then they have experiences. On the other hand, so which means you can actually go on a personal adventure with God or that being. On the other hand, religiosity, you have to be guided. And again, I draw inspiration from the tech world, white box testing. So a white box testing is such that you have some understanding of what you're going to get into. There are laid down rules. Someone guides you. Someone tells you what and what not to do. So that is for that. Well, going back to the description I gave initially with the Venn diagram. So I made a deliberate effort to color code spirituality black, and I color coded religiosity white. There's a reason. Black for spirituality because drawing inspiration from the tech world, there's something called black box testing. Black box testing is a test that you do where you have no information, you have no clue going into it, which means as a spiritual person, you can decide that, okay, I want to know this thing. People have made prayers like, if there's God, do this, do that, and then they have experiences. On the other hand, so which means you can actually go on a personal adventure with God or that being. On the other hand, religiosity, you have to be guided. And again, I draw inspiration from the tech world, white box testing. So a white box testing is such that you have some understanding of what you're going to get into. There are laid down rules. Someone guides you. Someone tells you what and what not to do. So that is for that. And what is the gray area? The gray area is the black side, which is the spirituality, and the white side, which is the spirituality. When you bring them together to form a Venn diagram, there is a subsect, and that subsect is the gray area. So that gray area is where our interest is, and that is where we are going to concentrate on our subsequent takes. But I would want to say that in conclusion that we show that would you prefer to be spiritual or religious? Like, what is your take on this? Would you rather be spiritual or religious? Please let us know. Let's talk about it. Let's keep the conversation going. And please like this video and share. Till next time, bye.